Spring is also about planting new seeds. So yes, it's about letting go, but then what are we filling that space with? The new space that has opened up for us. So spring is about planting new seeds, literally and emotionally. In nature, the soil is soft again. The cold is past, the light is returning. And actually, it's so true within us as well. When you clear emotional clutter, when you release all these stagnant feelings and patterns, you create fertile ground in your inner world. You make space, you soften, and you become ready to plant something new.
I'm Radhi Devlukia, and on my podcast, A Really Good Cry, we embrace the real, the messy, and the beautiful, providing a space for raw, unfiltered conversations that celebrate vulnerability and allow you to tune in to learn, connect, and find comfort together.
So today's been one of those days where honestly, I feel like punching something, but all I think I really need is to go outside for a really long walk. This week's episode is all about spring cleaning. And you know what? I have had the itch to clean, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally. I just feel like this is the season to be light and bright. So people, it is time to let go. You have been holding on to all the things that do not serve you, that are not letting you thrive, and have kept you weighed down all through winter. And honestly, maybe even longer than that. And we need to let that go, okay? Because spring is the season of new beginnings. It's the season of fresh air, of vibrancy, of lightness. And how are you going to have space for any of that if you're still holding on to all of that? The Japanese actually call it ma. It's the space between things. Spring invites us to create emotional ma, space between people, between thoughts, and our roles and responsibilities. Space is so sacred. It's kind of a little bit like time, and you cannot receive when you are full. You know what? This is a pretty heavy topic. And also because of how I felt this day, I feel like I need a bit of a breath, and I feel like you might too. I'm getting that feeling. So before we dive in, why don't we take a moment to come into the present moment? Wherever you are, whether you're in your car, whether you're at home, whether you're laying down, remember that breath is your anchor that brings your mind back into alignment with your body. So place your hand, if you can, over your heart and one over your belly, and take a deep inhale and a slow exhale. Feeling your body soften with each exhale. Let's take a couple more together. Take a deep breath in and exhale. If you weren't doing this before, with your next breath, breathe out with your mouth instead of your nose. Feel your belly fill up with all that new, fresh air. And as you breathe out, remove all that stagnant, stale energy and air that sits within you. One thing I've been trying lately is humming. It sounds really random, but it's actually beautiful. So with your next couple of breaths, take a deep breath in and have a humming sound on the way out, and feel the vibration flow through your entire body. Feeling all the clean air coming through into your body. If you have your eyes shut, keep them shut for a little bit. Feel all the vibrations running through your body. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Honestly, I needed that so much. Like, I cannot explain to you how much I needed that and how much those few breaths changed everything for me. Now, let the noise settle in your mind and let your body know that it is safe and it is time to be open to letting go. I don't know about you, but this season of my life, I just really want it to be clean and fresh, with clear energy internally and externally, whether it is with myself or whether it's with other people. And I think that's really important, you know? I think about that whether it's with friendships, relationships, with people that you don't really know. You don't have to be best friends. The bare minimum is having clean energy between people and clean energy in the things that you do. And so in order for that to happen, you need to practice creating clean energy, practice taking things in and out of your body regularly. Now, that's also true in your physical body. When things build up in your body, whether it's in your arteries, whether it's in your bowel, whether it's in your heart, when those things happen, it creates stagnancy, it creates toxins, and it creates disease. And our mind is no different, and our heart is no different either. Actually, in pretty much every single tradition, the season of spring marks a return to life. How beautiful is that? The return to life. And I always like noticing these little moments that nature or God or the earth send me for a reset, for a refresh or a little spruce or a little moment of reflection on how I can better live my life. And I think if we're looking for them, they always show up. Whether it's the season that we're in, whether it's the night turning into day, whether it's the moon cycle, there's just so many different moments in time where we can decide it is time for a reset or a refresh. One perspective that has encouraged me to do this is actually constantly seeing my body as a gift. And when you start shifting your mindset to that, when you see something as a gift, you look after it so much more. You're more careful with it. You have a deeper appreciation for it. And so these little cleanups that we do, whether it's mentally, physically, or emotionally, are all part of that gratitude gesture back to God, the universe, back to your body for doing what it does. In traditional Chinese medicine, spring is the season of the liver. That is the organ that's actually responsible for emotional detox and energetic flow. So when the liver is balanced, there is vision and vitality. And when it's blocked, we feel frustrated, irritated, and even hopeless, which is also why doing a physical detox during spring is really important. I actually spoke about this in a newsletter I did recently. And I talk about how spring, according to Ayurveda, is known as the season we get the most amount of the transition between spring and winter is the time period where we get the most amount of mucus. I'm a bit stuffy at the moment. It's a really hard transition for our body to do. It's when there's a lot of kapha in our body. Now, kapha is essentially a mixture of earth and water. Those elements rise in our body during that time. And so spring is the end almost of kapha season. It's cool, it's moist, it's heavy. And that actually is mirrored in the qualities of the emotions that we accumulate, whether it's grief or attachment or stagnation. So what would be the antidote? In Ayurveda, it says that the antidote is always the opposite. And so if you're feeling stagnant, if you're feeling heavy, if you're feeling down, the antidote is movement and clarity and release. And so it's really beautiful to see how all of these little different cultures, different thought patterns, they all kind of come and say exactly the same thing in a different way, which makes me think, you know what, there's something to this. It must be real. And nature shows us what we're supposed to be doing. I always say this, that whenever you feel lost in life, whenever you don't know what to be doing, whenever you're confused, look out in nature and it will tell you what you should be doing. Like somewhere, somehow, it is reflecting what we should be doing for ourselves. And an emotional spring clean doesn't need to be dramatic. Like it doesn't have to be extreme. Nothing does. It's really about these tiny rituals of clarity and asking the questions that are necessary, taking time to reflect. We suffer more in our imagination than we do in our reality. We carry all these conversations that never happened, maybe some that did happen that don't need to live in us anymore, tension that does not belong to us, taking on other people's pain, other people's drama, and all these ideas of who we should be that actually block who we're trying to become. And sometimes we just get used to living in this way. We accept the feeling, either because deep down we believe that's what we deserve, maybe it's a hint of self-sabotage, or because that's all we've known for too long and it's just become comfortable. It doesn't always have to be big things or huge issues, but we go through so much on a daily basis, physically, mentally, emotionally. And every single thing that we absorb through our senses, whether it's what we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we touch, what we smell, and even what we emotionally feel, it leaves an imprint on us. I heard this term a while ago in Sanskrit, and it's always stayed with me. It's called samskaras, and they're these impressions that are left through everything we experience. Think of them like little footprints that are left behind in the sand of your consciousness. Some are light and easily washed away, others are deep and embedded and stay with us for years, sometimes lifetimes. A samskara could be a hurtful comment that you've internalized, a moment of joy that has shaped your self-worth, or even a recurring pattern of fear or comparison. The more we feel or think something, the deeper that groove becomes. And unless we pause and become aware and lovingly tend to them, these impressions quietly influence every part of our life, how we see the world, how we interact with people, how we relate to other people, and even how we respond to ourselves. So we're not just trying to tidy up the surface level feelings here. We're really looking inward and asking these questions. Now, you might want to get your journal out or your pen and paper out for this. I'm going to share some prompts with you that I use when I'm journaling or trying to release during this time period. So the first one is, what impressions am I carrying that are not mine? Which ones are outdated? Which ones am I ready to soften, to rewrite, to release? The next one is, what thoughts, stories, or emotional baggage am I still carrying that I can lovingly lay down? That I've had in me for far too long, and with love, I let go of because I do not need them anymore. Whose energy am I holding that isn't mine to carry anymore? What has been taking up unnecessary emotional space in my mind or heart? Maybe that is people pleasing. Maybe it's anxiety about things outside of your control. Or maybe it's old wounds you just haven't realized are still bleeding under the surface. So I hope you guys wrote those questions down or are reflecting on them right now. I can repeat them if you want, or I'm assuming you can probably rewind and hear them back. But I think those are really important ones. Whose energy am I holding that isn't mine to carry anymore? What thoughts, stories, or emotional baggage am I still carrying that I can lovingly let go of? And I say lovingly because nothing ever leaves us through fear, anxiety, or anger. When we're actually in fear, and this actually applies physically too. Sometimes they say that when you're trying to lose weight, if you end up dieting too hard, your body goes into this panic mode, and it actually, instead of letting go of things, if you go into too much of a calorie deficit, it actually starts to hold on to fat on your body rather than letting go. And so it's kind of the same in our body and as it is in our mind. There's such a deep relationship between the two. So when you start trying to let go of things aggressively, your body actually holds on to them tighter. And so with every single thing that we do, just as we see our body as a gift, you have to think, how can I lovingly put this away? How can I lovingly let go of this? Because our body's used to holding on. Our mind could be compared to hoarders. That's what I think that we are sometimes, whether it's holding on to things because you think it means when you let go of it, you're letting go of the pain, which means that you're letting go of that person's responsibility or the accountability for it. Or when you let go of something, it actually means that you're no longer connected to that person or that thing anymore. You're letting go of a version of yourself that you were before. There's so many reasons why we hold on to things. And so really breaking this down, what impressions am I carrying that are not mine? Which ones are outdated? Which ones am I ready to rewrite or release? And I think free writing is really beautiful for this, where you just put pen to paper and you start thinking and you start writing. It's been such a beautiful thing that I've practiced. And it helped me when I was trying to get into journaling, because I used to think, what am I going to do, Dear Diary, sitting here writing about my life? But actually free writing is anything and everything. You can have a prompt like this. And anything and everything that comes into your mind, you just put pen to paper. It does not even have to make sense. You can just keep flowing with the thoughts that come into your mind. And eventually, it should take you to where you need to be or what you need to release. Spring is also about planting new seeds. So yes, it's about letting go. But then what are we filling that space with? The new space that has opened up for us. So spring is about planting new seeds, literally and emotionally. In nature, the soil is soft again. The cold is past, the light is returning. And honestly, I'm actually in the process right now of planting all my new plants and herbs in my herb garden, planting new flowers and every single herb under the sun. I've got dill, parsley, cilantro. I'm trying to grow some chilies. I've got a lemon tree in the back, and all these flowers that I use in my temple area as a form of devotion. We offer flowers. And so I have all these beautiful flowers and also edible flowers. And actually, it's so true within us as well. When you clear emotional clutter, when you release all these stagnant feelings and patterns, you create fertile ground in your inner world. You make space, you soften, and you become ready to plant something new. So ask yourself, what seeds am I planting this season? What seeds do I want to plant this season? Who do I want to be? These seeds can be intentions, they can be new ways of thinking, they can be gentle commitments or emotional qualities that you're inviting in, like courage or calm or creativity or connection. So I guess you could think of it as, who do I want to be? Who do I admire? What qualities do they have? And how am I going to plant them into my being? And what does that look like for me? And then usually, with a garden, you can't just plant the seeds. You can't just think of something you want to be and then not figure out the route to it. You can't just plant a seed and leave them. Those seeds need tending to. They need attention and water and sunlight and a whole lot of love. And they need time. Because please remember that growth is quiet before it's visible. Most people, when you see their flowers, they've been doing all the groundwork beforehand to get themselves there. So don't be disheartened when you don't see it the next day or the next day or the next day. Just know that you're taking all these tiny steps towards creating that quality or that intention that you are so beautifully planting, watering, and loving. And so you don't need to be something new overnight. You just have to prepare the ground, make it fertile by removing the things that are no longer needed, by removing those weeds, and then nourishing that soil, nourishing that seed so that it can grow slowly and steady. Can you hear the birds in the background? So beautiful. So all of this is just a beautiful reminder that every flower was once just a seed. Nature teaches us so much if we're watching. And like I said before, like whenever you have a dilemma or a difficulty in life, take a walk in nature and the world will show you the answer in some way. And every single time that you choose to do this process we're talking about, where you're excavating, removing, and then replanting, you are making it easier to live a life of alignment with your true self. And, honestly, I was reflecting over these past couple of weeks. I started doing a lot of things that were kind of out of my character, if I'm completely honest. Not out of my character, I would just say that weren't taking me towards being my higher self, that weren't feeding the seeds, that weren't nourishing the seeds, but probably nourishing more of the weeds. Whether it was staying up too late, where it wasn't nourishing my physical body, whether it was going to environments where it was lowering my consciousness, to be honest. Dark environments, loud music, you name it. And it's not that I didn't have fun, I had a great time, but I really became aware of energy and how much it can do, not just to your physical body, but to your mental state too. How are the people around you acting? How it can really affect you. And it really is true. The things you surround yourself with, you become. And so I came out of that. I did a couple of days of it and I was like, I think this is enough for me. And now I came back into my spiritual practices on the weekend, on Sunday. And it was just so refreshing. Like I slowly felt my consciousness rising. And it was simple things like waking up early again, sitting in my meditation practice, reading a book that spoke to my higher self and not my lower self, choosing not to turn the TV on and instead sitting outside and listening to the birds and reading a book. Like these things sound so simple, but when you're stuck in this pattern of tending to your lower conscious self, it ends up feeling like normality when it really shouldn't. And then when you start trying things that actually are speaking to your higher self, you notice how different it actually feels. And so, tend to your higher self, not to your lower self. And if you do tend to your lower self, honestly, do it for a couple of days and then whip yourself out of it, because we all go through ups and downs of it, And, I was thinking about fire rituals. I have this practice every single morning. We light a candle. It's called diya. So we light, a candle. It's made from cotton wool. You dip it in some sort of, usually traditionally it's ghee or olive oil or whatever. And you light the wick. And these fire rituals have been used for thousands of years across every spiritual tradition, whether it's Vedic fire ceremonies in India to indigenous burning ceremonies, where fire marks purification and the welcoming of new life. And so I actually grew up doing this tradition of lighting this diya. And whenever I do light this candle, I have a beautiful thought or I guess a meditation or a prayer that goes through my mind where I'm saying, let this fire represent burning all the negative qualities, all the things I don't need, all the things I do not want any longer in my heart, in my life, in my body. Let this burn it up. Just like this flame is burning, let this purify my body. Let this be a representation of my desire to purify my intentions, my heart, my body, my mind, my soul. And so I really enjoy this process of the fire ceremonies. If you think about it, fire is transformative. It turns dense into light. It turns physical into ether. It turns the old into ash. And in emotional spring clean, we can kind of borrow this wisdom symbolically or physically. And you don't need a grand ceremony, but all you need is a single candle. That can be sacred. Or you can write down your emotions or your patterns or the questions that we just spoke about. You could write your answers down. And when you're ready to release it, you can just set it on fire in a safe environment. Whether it's the stories that keep you small, the weight you're tired of carrying around, you can rip it, you can burn it. It does not need to be dramatic. It can be if you want it to be. It just needs to be done with deep desire to let go and give it up to the fire. That's all you have to do. And actually, when you witness something leaving your life physically, it registers in your nervous system as a real release. And I kind of guess that's why, in our tradition, we do cremation. I know it's part of other traditions too. But I remember my mum telling me that when she experienced the cremation of her dad, everything felt so heavy. Everything felt so, so heavy. The days going up to it, the cries, the intense feelings. And as soon as she saw that fire ceremony, it felt like a weight had been lifted. And I think that's something for the people who are experiencing the loss. But also, it says in our practice that when the physical body is burned, it actually releases that person's attachment to this physical world so that they can hopefully go into the spiritual world. It releases all the last physical attachments. And that's what fire does. It turns everything, even the body, into ashes. I kind of went off topic there, but I thought it really symbolizes what it can do for us in this moment in time where we're trying to release and let go. So let the flame be the line between what was and what's next. A few more questions to reflect on if you want to get even deeper is, what do I want to feel more of this season? So whether it's peace, freedom, clarity, joy, confidence, lightness, I encourage you to use more words than just happy. Like, what does that mean for you? Break it down. What does the word happy mean to you? What does the word peace mean to you? And dissect those emotions so you can make it into a reality like peace. So let's just break down peace, for example. Peace could mean having open communication with my partner where we resolve arguments better. Peace could mean sleeping through the night. Peace could mean waking up and not reaching for my phone straight away in anxiety. What does that peace look like for you? And if you do end up clearing out what you don't need, what are you trying to call in? So that's the other question. What are you trying to call in once you've done the clearing out? And once you name those feelings, ask yourself, what can I do more of to support these emotions? And so you're identifying what it is you want, you're defining it, and then you are creating the path, the route, the process of how I'm going to actually make these true, make this happen for myself. So think habits, think boundaries, think new ways of thinking, or simply, it might just be rest. Another question that actually can get quite emotional when you're answering it, but I think is very necessary, is if my heart could speak, what would it say today? And that might change every single day. And so it's actually a beautiful prompt to use every day. If my heart could speak, what would it say today? Is it feeling heavy? Is it feeling light? Is it feeling suffocated? Is it feeling lost? Like, what is your heart feeling? If it could speak, what would it say? What is it holding? What is it craving? What is it desiring? And a big part of emotional detoxing is also boundaries, not just with others, but also with our own mind. You are allowed, just in case you need permission, which you don't from me for sure, but just in case you need a reminder, you are allowed to not answer that text. You're allowed to stop replaying those conversations over and over again. You are allowed to move on from the past. You're allowed to not carry what isn't yours. You're allowed to literally say no without a huge explanation or justification. That last one was aimed at myself because I really struggle with that. I feel like I have to give a whole flipping paragraph every single time I'm trying to say no to something. I have to explain everything. I have to go into depth when really simply it's just a no, I just can't right now. So when it comes to boundaries, ask yourself, where in my life do I need stronger boundaries with others or with myself? And then a fun one, spring is also about new beginnings in so many different ways. So one thing I love to commit to is a new practice, a new ritual. For me, I've been craving education. I really wanted to learn something new. And so I'm signing up to this herbology course. I can share it with you guys if anybody wants to know about it, because I just want to learn more. And that's a ritual or practice that I know is going to fuel me in a way that I really need. And so that's something that I'm committing to. You could do something for your emotion, for your physical body. I recommend doing something for your emotions. And for me, it was something I felt really empty about. I really was craving learning more. And so it fuels me emotionally, physically, and mentally. But what are you going to do for your emotional renewal this spring that you are going to commit to? What ritual or practice? I read this poem and I thought it was really beautiful. And I'm going to read it for you guys. It says, "There is no shame in beginning again. The trees do it every single year. The sky does it every single morning. The moon does it every single month. You were made to return to yourself over and over and over, and each time a little more whole." And I've been thinking about this a lot lately because something I think we all get confused about when we're feeling lost is that it wasn't part of the plan. We're like, oh my gosh, I just feel empty. Oh my gosh, I don't feel good about myself. But you know what? As soon as you see it as part of the process, this thing that we see nature do, where it hibernates in winter, then in spring it starts coming to life, then it's summer, it's in full bloom, then in autumn it slowly starts to slow down, goes back into hibernation, starts to change colors, starts to change shape and the way that we see it. And then in winter it goes back into hibernation. And so in that same cycle, we have that in us too. And so how bizarre would it be if we didn't have these different seasons of life? So when you think about, why am I going through this? Why is this a difficult time? Why do I feel lost? Why don't I feel like myself? Know it's part of the seasonal change. Know that it is part of our life seasons that we are meant to go through. Don't see it as something that is odd or that makes you feel abnormal. See it as part of normality. And it makes life feel so much better and more manageable and helps you to understand the phases that you go through in life. So I'd love to end this with a visualization that often helps me. So if you're not driving, close your eyes. And if you are, you can probably still do this while you've got your eyes open too. Picture the emotion or thought that you want to release as a stone in your hand. So whether it's anger, jealousy, remorse, guilt, sadness, grief, name that emotion in your mind, the one that comes to the surface of your heart. Usually the one that as soon as you feel it, you try to bury it. Usually the one that when it rises to the surface, you get that pit at the bottom of your stomach. You get that lump in your throat. You get that feeling of, don't talk to me about this, otherwise it's going to make me cry. Find that and imagine it as a stone in your hand. Feel its weight. How heavy does it feel? Is it light like a feather? Is it heavy like a concrete stone? What does it feel like? How big is it in your heart? How much space is it taking up? How much energy is it requiring to keep alive inside of you? How much energy are you using to keep it alive? Now imagine taking that stone or that concrete weight and putting it into a river. And watch it. Watch the water carrying it away. What do the waves look like? Are they hard and fast and heavy to be able to move that concrete, or are they light and did it move away softly and gently? Notice how your body is feeling without it. Notice the space that it's created. Notice the feelings you have inside of you. Are you missing it? Are you worried? Are you anxious about it leaving you? How does it feel? And then repeat this out loud or in your mind while this beautiful bird is chirping in the background, and I hope you can hear it. Say this: I let go of what no longer serves me and I welcome what nourishes me. It's as simple as that. I let go of what no longer serves me and I welcome what nourishes me. I let go, and you can shout this as loud as you want. I let go of what no longer serves me and I welcome what nourishes me. And let me tell you, that bird is singing. I hope you guys can hear it. Can you hear it? You can't reply to me, but I can hear it and it's beautiful. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope this was useful. I hope it was relieving. I hope it made you feel a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter, or at least gave you the process in which to feel that way at some point in your life when you choose to use this. And I hope you use the spring to bloom, to plant seeds, to remove the weeds, to do all the things that you have wanted to do in your life, because I think that's what spring is about. The time of opportunity is what I see it as. Thank you all so much for listening, and see you guys next week.